Okay. Mitch, Luke, thanks for coming along. Good to catch up. You guys are almost at the end of your classics campaign for 2018, and just thought it might be great to have a chat to you and introduce you to a few of the folks back home in Australia and around the world, and get your point of view of what you've done and what you got left, Paris-Roubaix. And for you, Mitch, Skelder Prize.
Skelder Prize, Paris-Roubaix, and then on to the final classic, the Com Games.
Oh, yeah, you're going out to Com Games. Awesome.
It's actually all preparation for the commies, really. This is just a fantastic build-up for the commies. So
let's just hope you stay safe in the next couple of races, mate.
Yeah, a couple of big training days, and then I'll be back in Oz, getting into it.
Sun and his buns on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
At least they got no barbed wire in Paris-Roubaix, mate, I think.
Oh, I don't know about that. I wouldn't bank on it. There's a lot of farm roads there, so we'll see. Yeah.
I've been watching out more for those cobbles, those nasty ones in Altenberg.
Exactly. Yeah.
Look, guys, just a bit of run through on your backgrounds to the people back home. For not everybody knows in detail about you guys. Mitch, 31 years of age, still 31 or
32 this year. Yeah.
32 this year, right? My research is working. 180 centimetres tall, quite tall.
Yep.
73 kilos. We're still about that.
No, look, I think I put that up a few years ago. Things have changed. I'm racing well at about 75 kilo now.
Yeah.
Probably about 76 now. Up here with all the energy intake you're trying to put in, but that's where I'm sitting at the moment.
Okay, cool. And you've been pro since 2006.
Yep.
It's a while now. That was your first team with Drapac Porsche.
That's right.
Got you started. And it was great what Michael's doing there and getting you blokes over here and racing internationally.
Exactly. Actually, we started first off over here in Belgium doing some kermesses and cut our teeth doing that, and actually it was really a rude awakening, really. I remember coming across doing a race in Melbourne the week before was the Creswick Open. Quite a hard handicap, as we all know, handicap racing's really tough, and I thought, you know what, I'm going pretty good. Came across here and I did leader, kermesse, and another race, Haller and Gurium, and I was like, wow.
Bit of a difference.
This is a bit different, and now I've since found out they are very small races, and you keep stepping it up. But that was where came across with Drapac then, and it seems like I've done a full circle back at Drapac again now.
Well, it is. Teams in between, Skill Shimano, Dutch team, Skill Shimano, which is now the Sunweb team.
Exactly.
So they've also gone through that growing process, same as Drapac. Then on to Green Edge, which is now the Mitchell and Scott team. Also transformed, and education first, Drapac Canada. Yeah, big step up, change.
It is, and from what I understand, all the guys who were existing on that team last year, they said the team's done a bit of a transformation itself, with EF Education First coming on board, and it's not only a sponsor, they've taken over some of the team, and they've really transformed the team into a different team. So I think it's a beautiful time for me to join the team and go in the direction that they're going.
You do, from a spectator's point of view, I have to actually feel and see that you guys are riding more collectively. Last year the team seemed to be a little bit too much individuals, not quite in harmony and sync. So look, it's been changed.
I actually, to be honest, I didn't really notice them too much last year because I was focused on our guys, with Luke last year. But from this year, working for a guy, Seth Van Mark, who's from this area, he's from Oudenaarde, right in the heart of the classics, and a real contender for the win here. I really feel it lifts everyone, and everyone wants to be in that position. I feel we've all bound really well. Yeah. I've really enjoyed working for a Belgian in these races because you feel the passion from the crowd too.
Yeah. Oh, good one. Luke, 26?
Yep.
Just turned or turning?
27 day after Roubaix.
Okay. Wow. That could be a good celebration.
Well, last year it was my birthday on Roubaix and it wasn't really,
that's true.
So hopefully, 27.
It's going to happen one. If it doesn't happen this year, mate, it'll happen one year.
Exactly.
187 centimetres tall.
Yep.
Getting up there, one of the tallest blokes in the peloton.
Oh,
one off.
Yeah. Yep.
It's getting pretty old. 78 kilos, still around that's a classic weight or your tour weight?
Roughly, I stayed pretty much mostly the same for most of the year. 78, I'm probably about 79 now, but 78 most of the year.
Okay. Pro since 2010?
Yeah, 12.
12? Okay, because they had 2 years there as
Jaco Skins, under 23 team. But yeah.
Okay, cool. And then the rest of your career's all been with Greenwich?
Yeah. Pretty much since I'm 16, I reckon I've been in this sort of same outfit. Thanks to Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry's provided a lot of avenues for a lot of young riders.
Big time, yeah.
All the way through. Nickname, Durbo, still appropriate?
Yeah, if you want to call me that, that's fine. I don't really sort of encourage it, but I don't refer to myself as the Durbo, which is, it's still there.
Yeah. Mitch, you got a nickname?
No, not really, do I?
Docky.
Docky.
Just the normal sort of stuff, yeah. Not that I know of, yeah.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about Tour of Flanders.
Yep.
It was a tough day. One of the many classics that you've already done this year, and you just alluded to. How was it for you guys? How are you feeling? We're Tuesday now, and a bit of recovery. Mitch, you went down there and spectacular style into the barbed wire fence.
Yeah, look, I think it was a bit of a spectacular crash, and I got a lot of people interested in it because I think it got good TV time and it looked, pretty big. But it was actually, I've had a lot of crashes this classics, 4 to be exact, out of 5 races, so I'm going on pretty good. But this was probably one of the better ones, if I can have one. Didn't really have any injuries. So to go back to the race, it was a really tough race. It was really bad weather for the last few years. Flanders has sort of peaked up and it's been great weather. Flanders Roubaix have been quite hot, maybe even 20 degrees, and this year was a typical classic. Started off maybe 6 degrees and rain, probably for the first 150k, and that actually took quite a lot out of you.
It was hard. The break took maybe 80, 90 kilometres to go.
Exactly, and I think that's a lot of people underestimate that, especially with Roubaix next week. They see from kilometre 100 to the end, which is tough. It's the cobbles, and the same in Flanders. I think we went up the Quaremont.
I think Eurosport showed kilometre 0 this year.
Right.
So everyone got a bit of an idea of the whole race.
Exactly, and that start that's what makes the end so
difficult.
Difficult is because 100 kilometres of normal roads, left, right, and by the time you get to the first sector, or one of the first important sectors at 112 kilometres was the Quaremont. It's like, I'm a little bit buggered already, and then the race starts.
Yeah,
so that's the feeling.
It is very much two-phase, the Tour of Flanders, and because it has that big run in.
Sure.
It's a 257k race.
Yep.
With the particularly the last 150 is what counts. So the first 100 is trying to warm up, but we're at 6 degrees in rain. It's not really.
And also the new start from Antwerp. Before, when we used to start in Bruges, there was big roads. So you used to go out big roads for a long time. So the break would take a while to go, but if you're in the bunch, it wasn't. I guess it would be overly hard. But now we go all through little towns into Saint Nicolas, U-Bolt, come back out. There's like all these little towns, which makes it very difficult when you're just trying to sit in the bunch. So makes it a whole different dynamic.
It does.
Yeah. And with the weather too, a lot of people underestimate with the rain how much the precautions you're always giving a little bit more room and the braking and acceleration to
and small bingles, like Sepp. I don't know if a lot of people knew, but our leader, he had 2 crashes that day. Small crashes, but at the end of the race, that's a taxing thing too. Coming back from that crash, or even the little injury you get from that, and then they've got to perform. And I'm sure a lot of other guys had small crashes as well.
They showed all of Sepp's crashes, and almost where he's trying to get service from the car, and he went up in the gutter. He almost knocked himself off.
It's just it is hectic. Some stuff gets overlooked, I think. Yeah.
How was it for you, Luke?
It was a little disappointing in a way that I was actually quite good. Felt pretty decent, and then I sort of found myself in a probably bad position going into the bottom of the Koppenberg, probably in the front, maybe 30 guys or something like that. And then I think Vermont from Dimension Data crashed on the Koppenberg, and then we had to walk.
Yeah.
And so I had to get off and walk, and then I don't know if you've tried it. You obviously would have walked up the Koppenberg, but trying to clip in again after that was pretty impossible. So by the time I got clipped in, the front bunch that I was hoping to be in was long gone, and then I chased for 20k or something, but that ended up blowing myself up, and then I ended up going back through groups after that because I don't reckon I'd eaten anything about 30k because I was trying to get back to the front. Yeah. But so in terms of that, I was pretty disappointed just because with these races, as Mitch said before, you have these certain points of really crucial moments to be in the front, and that descent now into the new right-hander into the Quartermont is just unbelievable how dangerous it is.
I was going to ask you that because I mean, first of all, best backtrack back to Koppenberg, just so that people now understand. When you stop on a Koppenberg, it's not just stop and put your foot down. It's slippery as buggery. So if you don't slip over just trying to put your foot down, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But to get started again, because as soon as you got the power to put down, but to get the traction on the wet cobblestones when you're 23%.
Really what is it? 23%, is it?
It's a big risk. Like I saw a guy in front of me. There was two ways to go about it. There's the panic, quickly run, trying to get back on as quick as possible so you don't lose time, or there's you take not 5 minutes, but like you take 5 seconds just to sort of like slowly do it. Then sometimes it needs to work, because this guy was running and he was slipping, get up. He tried to put his foot in, he nutted himself on the top tube, and okay, just 1 second. And what ended up happening, we actually all helped each other out. When one guy got clipped in, the next guy in front of him pushed him. There was a couple of us like pushed the guy in front so he could like get a bit of momentum going, and then so 2 of us or 3 of us did that up the climb, which is actually quite good. So I think no one really wants to unclip on the Koppenberg, but it's like
you don't want anyone to unclip in front of you either. No. That's probably where the pushing came from.
Yeah, that's what ended up happening. It was just like, I think we were all in line, and then one guy just lost traction, fell down like that, and then pretty much blocked the road, and then whoever was behind was out of the race, which is a bit
Well, any of those climbs, that's exactly what happens. Koppenberg, Quartermont, Buttersberg and Tymberg, there's the steepest climbs that if you have to unclip or someone goes down, that's the split.
Exactly. I do prefer now what they've done is they've barricaded the Tymberg at all races, which has made a significant difference. Like before, when you used to, people don't really know this, that they used to just race to the gutter, and whoever got in the tiny little bit of gutter, that would be the front, and the rest would be caught on the cobbles. I really think it's making a big difference to how big the front group is now, because especially in Harelbeke and E3, because as soon as you race, there's no gutter anymore. Yeah. So everyone races, and the front group's now 20 when before
it's a lot more even.
10.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot more even.
Yeah. And the same with the Buttersberg. I mean, they've been doing that for some years because it's so deep in the final, but like you say, doing it at Tymberg now.
Boonan's the last person to.
Well, because Boonan's not there now.
Boonan's not there anymore, so he doesn't need the gutter.
So then, to come back, then the run into the Quartermont, the new change there. I mean, you guys are doing like 80 clicks an hour coming in now?
Well, it's hard not to think about it. It's just sort of.
I've got a 54 front chainring on and 11, and you can't get any more.
So you're doing 90 plus then?
Yeah, you have to be. Like I ran out of gears, and you're like, you're trying to move your teammate forward, and you're like, I just can't pedal it. Whatever it is. So
if you're tucked in on the wheel, you seem to be fine, but then all of a sudden you step out and you just straight back.
Well, there's a point. You guys are a great panel for this. There's a point where we've had the new video commissaire, and his job is to see anything that's rules being broken, whether it is taking sticky bottles or cutting off corners or riding on bike paths. And this instance here is with Luke Rowe. Luke Rowe was coming down. He's trying to move up, and he's on the outside, but the crowd was all on the road. Then as soon as you guys got to that last 100 metres or so, everybody brakes, so it all compressed the group. So he either had to run into a rider, run into a spectator, or flick to the right at the last second behind the spectators, which then brought him out just before the corner he could regain the circuit again. He got kicked out of the race for that. I'm not sure you guys are aware.
Yeah, we were aware, but I never actually quite saw the footage. But
I guess when you think about that...
So, I mean, the argument is, did he make the right call? I mean, at that point, hitting a rider, hitting a spectator, or going to the right and get kicked out of the race?
Look, I don't want to support him getting kicked out for that reason, but I guess what they're trying to promote is you've got to envision there is no bike path. That's the road, and there would be walls there, say. So if that was a situation and the road ended there, he would have to find another option. He wouldn't be able to go to an imaginary bike path. And I guess that's what they're trying to say, is that those bike paths are never to be used. And I'm not to say that I haven't gone on a bike path this classic season.
I just think if it's to a point of safety, like probably what Rowe was trying to do, and was to avoid hitting a spectator or a rider, but it's not an advantageous move.
No.
So for example, it wasn't. Yeah. So, but if he was up on the bike path, he's gone 30 spots, and all of a sudden he's back in the bunch. And then he's
that sounds like he did.
Well, the thing is, he did.
Yeah. So
I'm
not saying that's okay.
And it was a crucial phase. This is the last time coming in there. And if you weren't to be 10 positions in front or behind, going into the last time in the Quaramon, that was the difference.
One position makes a big difference.
I also think it's very difficult to pinpoint Luke Rowe out of that whole race, because in terms of, if you saw the rest of the race, I guarantee there was probably 50 more riders that were on and off bypass, and you know what I mean?
I think it's the point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They understand that there are points where people coast around and whatever, but this is a point that was so crucial. I guess you got to just pick and choose those points, and
it's tricky.
It is, and I think probably the implementing this for the first year, the video commissaire. But look, takeaway is, I think, for the organisers, put barricades there.
Yeah.
Didn't really like the new run-in, to be honest.
Yeah, to go back to that.
Back to that, I really feel that, I'm not nothing to the organisers, but I felt that the old run-in was always dangerous, but you had 3 corners to really wash off the speed. Yeah. You came in, you went right, there's a bit of a long section, and then you went right again, and then you were onto the small road.
Yeah.
And I just think, look, we all came out, I think, apart from, well, your crash wasn't even there.
No, it was
everyone came out a bit unscathed, but yeah, it's really just encouraging a huge pile up on that corner.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Just like to backtrack a little bit, guys, back to 2017, your end of year, you were happy with it. I mean, you know, no major injuries carrying them over into the off season. Luke, you stayed with Mitchell and Scott, of course. Mitch, you've changed camp, so it was, you know, for you it's probably a lot more new things and settling in period that you needed.
Yeah.
How did that go for you guys as a whole?
Mine was very good. You know, like I was ready for a change, ready for something new. After 6 years with the team, you start to get in your routine and things roll on, and the change was more refreshing than I could have even imagined. You know, even small things like getting a new bike and setting that up, and those small things became exciting again. And I came into this season with a new motivation, and just excited to work with new guys, like I said before, with the classics, and a different goal, and the same old races, but with a different energy. So I've really enjoyed this year. I finished last year really well, but I'm enjoying the new phase too.
Oh, awesome.
For me, I was probably back into the season. I broke my ankle at the Tour de France, and then so it was a really long period of comeback to get ready for the World Championships for the road race and the team time trial. So mine was like a really kind of get back to peak fitness before my off season started, which was really good. It was really hard that period to get back to fitness, and I worked really hard, and I sort of finished my season at quite a good level because I'd worked really hard. I only did Tour of Britain, the Worlds, and then my season finished. So I had a really good off season in Perth, and then started building up again. And then things were a little bit pear shaped at the Nationals. I was in good shape going to the Nationals, and then I crashed and broke my collarbone here and back of my spinous process C7 on my neck. So then I was kind of back to rebuild phase again, which is not easy, and Mitch can back me up here, and so can you. You know, rebuild. If you've had a rebuild recently just before, and then you have another one in quick succession, it can be quite difficult. It's kind of like I'm back to square zero here. So that was difficult.
Physically and mentally, I think the mental impact.
More mentally, like physically you can sort of, you know, you can deal with a broken collarbone, and this one wasn't so bad. You know, you were just like, okay, it's a broken collarbone. But purely because I'd been on the couch, you know, for all of July, getting my ankle ready to get back, and I'm still got ongoing rehab stuff with this, and you got ongoing stuff with here, so it's sort of just a bit of a snowball effect. But I think the only thing that really kept me focused for this next period was this period. This is my favourite period of the year, and I think seeing that I had crashed in January, it was actually still well and truly enough time to get back to fitness for this, and I think that really kept me striving forward to be here. So and now we arrived, and look, I mean, in terms of results of the classic season for me so far, it hasn't gone like last year, but we spoke about this before. It's not really. Sometimes classic races can be like that. You know, I've had a bit of bad luck, caught behind a few crashes. Don't think the legs are not there. It just seems to be my luck has not really been the flow this year yet. So that's sort of how it sort of ended up for me. Yeah,
that's hard, because you guys, and we're going to get to that, are what you see yourselves as classic specialists. But if you don't able to kick goals from Strada Bianchi through to here. We actually from first one-day race, Cadel Road Race, then straight over here to the Newsblood. I'm not sure if you both rode that or not.
Yep.
Then Strada Bianchi just the week after, and then on to Milan San Remo. I mean, it's a pretty intense period for you guys, So then carrying injuries or trying to recover, and
it's sort of it's like a bit of a snowball effect. I think one time you make a right breakaway or a right move, and then you've got this seem to carry this energy of a bit of untouchable, and you've seen it with the classics with the guys that are rolling. With Nicky, for example, things that just seem to be Nicky Terpstra seems to be just rolling really, really well. And one maybe following year he might be caught behind every crash and puncture 4 times, and you never see him. But his form was still the same, but there was sort of something that was going on there.
Well, Narsens has been a bit of a victim of that, and your team leader, for Marcus, also haven't had his fair share of luck. So
that's right. And in those moments, it's like you got to just try and move past it. Like myself, even okay, I've had 4 crashes, but you go, what's the positive? I haven't actually crashed out of the classics. I'm still able to go on to the next one. Great. They haven't been great races, but you go, cool. That's fine. I haven't broken anything. Let's move on to the next one.
And you got to move on.
Close it on. It is tough to do though, because they can be defeating these classics, and it seems strange. People go, it's only, let's say from the time we come up to Belgium, it's only 5-6 races, but it feels like a grand tour. It really does.
Elaborate a little bit on that, guys. These races, we've got Milan, Strada Bianchi, Newsblood in the end of February. Then we got in the month of February we got Strada Bianchi, which has become becoming a big race. Then we go on to one of the monuments. It's Milan San Remo. Both these other races, and we'll start off with the Cadel Evans Classic. It's 165. We go to Newsblood. It's 200. Strada Bianchi's 200. Then we go to Milan San Remo monument race. Bang, 300 kilometres. And then we kick into the next ones. Where we got E3 prize, it's 200. Again, Wevelgem, 250. We've got Waregem in the middle of the week, 180. Tour of Flanders, 257. And we've got Paris-Roubaix, 251. We've got Skelter Prize also in the middle, which is another 200.
Yeah.
And then they flick across to the Ardennes races, like Nibali and Valverde. And they're doing again 260s over there for Liège, Bastogne, Liège and Amstel. So it is very demanding, and you say about this, and it's also the weather. How does that work on you guys, both mentally, physically, to keep yourselves going and dealing with crashes, and then say, okay, resetting and going to the next one? I mean, it's tough work for you blokes.
I think probably a real key, and aside from starting back at Cadel's through opening weekend, and then we have a break there with Torino or Paris-Nice. But once Luke and I come up either before San Remo or just after San Remo, something we've clued into sort of 5-6 years ago was that point. How do we keep ourselves fresh? And a lot of the teams who aren't based up here, they congregate at a hotel. They get everyone in, and they do their treatment there and everything. And we realise that we've got to keep things a little bit more like our normal life. Come in, do our races, switch on. 100% for that 48 hours. As soon as the race is finished, get out, go back to our families, and try and be normal for a day or so, and just forget about the racing. Bang, get back into the hotel. It seems simple, and some people might think, 3 weeks, why can't you just switch on for that time? But if you want that intense energy for that 6 hours of the race, plus the 24 hours leading up beforehand, really focus on every climb, you need to be on and off. That's the way I found, and Luke also agreed.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
So what we ended up doing over these last few years is going, let's get a little house close by to the hotel, get our wives up here, and I've got my son up here now too. And that's how we've been able to juggle it.
Wow.
It's worked fantastically the last 5 years, and I always joke about it, even doing simple things like coming home and doing your own washing, doing your own dishes.
Cooking your own food.
Brings a bit of normality into life rather than being at the hotel. Sounds fantastic, getting your buffet dinner and whatever, but after sort of 2-3 weeks...
The walls start closing in.
The walls start closing in, that's right. And you can only talk so much cycling with the guys.
Yeah.
And you come home and your wife brings reality in pretty quick when you're talking to her about the race, and she's like, Anyway, you're like, great, that's what I need to hear.
We've done that so many times. Okay, that's probably enough cycling now. Me and Mitch we stay together and we get them down cycling talk, and girls are kind of like, all right. Anyway, let's go back to normal.
And that's exactly what you need. Well, that's what we need anyway.
Yeah.
And that's something I think, especially for me this year, crashing out of these races, you don't get that euphoric feeling of crossing that line. No matter what you did that day, crossing the line at the end of a race is a great feeling. It's like, day done, I didn't do this right, I did this right, whatever. You can feel a sense of achievement. You crash out of a race, you ride in the car, you're like a bit deflated. Jesus, what's going on? And I think for me anyway, if I went back to the hotel and debriefed it and it rolled on, you start to go down this downward spiral.
Because once you don't finish one, and then it just becomes a bit of a snowball effect. You sort of get going out like this. But
so you guys have got it worked out, and I know exactly what you're going through. I lived here, so I lived all in around the other part of Straat and not far from Gerardsbergen and Oudenaarde. But for you guys as Australians coming over, but actual team not being based here or not being a Belgium team, you just alluded to, a bit earlier to working with Sepp, it sort of brings another element into it. But coming and living here, particularly living in Ghent, you're pretty much surrounded and immersing yourself in the classics and the culture. And that brings me to something. How do you find it, guys? I mean, because my wife is Flemish, but your wives are Australian. You've got a young boy as well. The culture and them making that journey by having your wives coming up from where you normally live in Girona and in Spain to here, how's that worked for them? And
I definitely think that my wife personally has become much more of a cycling fan since, not saying she wasn't against cycling, but she's become much more of a cycling fan coming up and experiencing the classics. So she goes on all the tours. We get someone picks her up, takes her onto all the climbs and checks it all out. And it's 3 degrees and raining, we're on the side of the road, and it's kind of like that real. You just don't. I think it's like for us, the only way you can put it to Australians, it's like grand final weekend for a month. So grand final, AFL grand final weekend, everyone's getting that little buzz around Melbourne City before the AFL grand final. It's kind of like that, but for a month, and I feel like that for example, like for a Belgium rider, you are playing in the AFL grand final, which is the pinnacle for an Australian, your parents come over and it's just this huge environment. So for us as Australians, we don't quite, I guess, understand it because we're kind of like, it's like big deal. But then now as we come here and we live here, we really actually understand, like the butcher sees you in the kit, like, hey Luke, good luck on the weekend, eh? And you're like, oh, thanks man, just grab the meat, just like walk out. Like, is he obviously watching the race where everyone's watching the race, the Ronde van Vlaanderen, and everyone is watching that race.
That's a good example. I was just riding here this morning, and a guy riding to work on his town bike just pulls up next to me, and I'm trying to look for this address. He goes, hey Mitch, how are you? And I was like, looks across, I was like, I don't know this guy. He's like, how's it from yesterday? You pull up, from Sunday, did you pull up okay from the crash? I'm like, yeah, actually, like just some guy, And so, like you said, you're people are watching the race like anyone, So,
and as Australians, I think we start at to be able to get to, for example, at the classics level. Like we started at a lower, not lower, but it's a higher. We don't know the roads. Yep. We don't know the culture.
You are a disadvantage.
We're a disadvantage. Yeah, that's what I mean. So when we came over here, I followed suit with Mitch. When we did come over here, we really had to go, all right, how are we going to put ourselves at an advantage? And I think only by doing what we did, and look, it hasn't always been easy to find places to rent cars, to do recons. I mean, first recon we did was normal tyres and a pump and a road map. We definitely know there's a roundabout at the bottom of the Koppenberg anyway, but rode past it 15 times trying to find it. But then from there, now it's no hassle anymore. No. You know where you are, what you need to do. Everything just sort of seems to flow a lot easier, which helps which snowballs into the races.
Yeah. So it's been a big investment for you guys, like in time and effort and energy, and also from your families, your wives, and.
I think it's about the racing, but it's also about your life too. Like, if I'm up here too, this is a big part of my life. This is my 10th season up here, and it's a big chunk of my life, and I want to enjoy it too. So having them up here is something I really want to enjoy, and forever in the future, we're going to remember our time every year, a month in Belgium. And that's a beautiful part of it, the racing side, but also the time off the bike. And that's, for me, just as important as racing well, is having fun here too and enjoying life.
So you're enjoying the restaurants and bars and coffee shops here?
Like probably a bit more so years before. This year's been a bit more...
With little man, we've been cooking a lot more.
Exactly. With the little guy, you can't do so much, but it's a different dynamic and it's been fantastic too.
Yeah.
So
how old is he, your son?
Just one.
Just
one, 14 months.
14 months.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And Luke, you looking at expanding? Or
No,
starting a
not yet.
family?
No. I'm getting married in October this year.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll just stick with that first. I think.
One step at a time.
Yeah.
Just last thing of all, guys, it's been great. All the classics, how does the Cadel Road Race fit in with your preparation to come in to start the first race of the European block, which is Het Nieuwsblad the last weekend of February?
Well, I think I think it's always a good, probably a good classic to start with in terms of it's 160, so it's always raced from pretty much start to finish pretty hard. And then also coming off Tour Down Under, normally you've had this 1 week of stage race, which is the first stage race of the year, and you get this nice load from Tour Down Under, and then you have a bit of a rest, and then you can really hit hard with one really hard classic style race before you come over to Belgium and hit the big ones. So I feel like Cadel race has been like, I've always loved to race it, and also I think coming out of Down Under, you always arrive at Cadel's with this like really good form, and I think it's a cool race.
Yeah, exactly what Luke said, and it's just a good gauge. It's very early, so you're not expecting to set the world on fire, but you get a chance to test yourself on the final back climb there, or the final 3 back climbs, and you're just like, whew, okay, a bit of work to do, or you know what, I'm not far off. That was a good test. And then I think for me, it's a race where I'm either just there or I just don't make it, and that's what I like about it. For me, it's climbs are just too hard or just I'm there, and it's a really good gauge. It's a good goal to test what's going to happen that classic season.
And it is that approach, because you've got riders who that is a major goal, those first couple of races, like we've seen with Viviani. Had a really good race there. McCarthy as well, he wanted to do well. And then we look at the women as well, like Chloe Hoskins, she told her team back in November, she said, Cadel Road Race, I want to win that. And the team director said to me, he says, I thought, Chloe, you're never going to get over that climb, but that's the determination. But it is a good indicator. And then going into Nieuwsblad, and we're seeing this year, there was a bit of a change in the course, and not all the big favourites were there. It was a bit of a swap around.
I think it does suit an Ardennes rider. Sorry to cut you off there, but I mean, in terms of, I know with McCarthy and Impey, their focus is for Ardennes, the Ardennes Classics. So what they do is they really peak really hard for January. As you saw, their condition in January was pretty impressive. But it also put Impey in World Tour #1 for a long time because of the points he got from Tour Down Under and also from Cadel's Ocean Race. But after that, then they have a bit of a break, probably during the Flemish Classics, and then they rebuild to come up to the Ardennes.
They change programs. They go to Catalonia and Pays Basque.
They change it up a little bit. So I really feel that like the Cadel Road Race, also with how the climbs are, is probably a little bit more suited for like an Ardennes rider than
Classic
maybe
rider.
Flemish Classic rider, just because of the style of where it sits in the program, but also where you are condition wise. So.
Maybe we should approach Geelong and put in a section of cobbles there somewhere, just to spice it up and get you guys.
Right,
I think you get enough actually. You get enough when you get here. So righto guys, that's about time. Thanks very much for being here this morning. Great to catch up. Mitch, good luck tomorrow, Skelter Prize.
Thank you.
I know it's a new course change and you've never done it before, so it's all new things for you.
Exactly.
But good luck tomorrow. And Luke, you both be joining each other for Paris-Roubaix, so
Sure will.
the last big hit out before the big one, Com Games. Mate.
Exactly, the big one.
You're not doing Com Games?
No,
Didn't make the cut.
Amsterdam.
Unlucky, buddy.
Gold, yeah.
Gold. Mate, good
Thank
luck.
you very much, mate.
Lovely to
Thanks
see you
for having
again,
us.
and talk soon.
Great.
Thanks, Luke.